Is presented by Samuel Adams.
He is Jalen Rose. I'm David Jacoby. We are Jalen Jacoby. What is it that we do?
We give the people what they want.
We have more chaos with the Cowboys, Cam Newton's career on the line, and some interesting insight into Habib's submission of Justin Gaethje. But we start with Monday Night Football. Battle of two great defenses, but it was the Rams' defenses that dominated the day. What did you see from Donald and company?
You said it. What did I see? I saw their front four getting pressure, led by Aaron Donald. I also saw Jalen Ramsey being physical out there playing corner, stopping guys from getting first downs, getting pickoffs because he was in the right place at the right time. I saw a Rams team that morphed itself into going from a squad that we figured was going to be a team that beat you by being cute offensively. And yeah, they're going to do a lot of sweeps and they're going to have Goff throw it all over the lot when they can. But they actually won with their physicality and their defense, and that was impressive.
I think you make a good point. And you remember a couple of years ago, we thought this team was Goff and Gurley and McVay sort of as a mad scientist drawing up all these offensive plays and they would outscore you. But they have completely morphed into a team that relies on defense, and not just defense, Jalen, but also special teams. The MVP of this game, and maybe the Rams' whole season, is my guy, the punter. It is Johnny Hekker's day, and he deserves to be celebrated. Hekker had not one, not two, not three, but five punts all downed in the Bears, below the Bears' 10-yard line. Jalen, is it fair to say that of all football players that dressed yesterday, Hekker had the best day of all of them?
I wish we could get a bulletin list of all of the people that you've called your guys. I bet that they could be on the wall right behind you, and I love it so very much.
Not enough room.
Special teams are a unique but very important part of the game that most people always seem to overlook, because now all of a sudden you don't see kickoff returns. You don't see as many punt returns for touchdowns. So people just dismiss special teams until all of a sudden somebody misses an extra point or somebody misses a field goal. And field position is always key. If you're pinning them inside of the 10, like this punter was doing, it absolutely allows the pass rush to pin their ears back and put pressure on Foles. And a lot of people are going to wake up today and be mad at Foles and be mad at the Bears offense. I get it. But take it from somebody who roots for a team that plays in their division. You ready for this, David? You really ready for this? Offense has never been the Bears' calling card, national media. Don't wake up today, start talking about, the Bears offense. Y'all ain't been watching them play. Don't let Gale Sayers and Walter Payton and Hallis and Ditka fool you. Basically, since the 80s, all of the best things that have been about the Bears has been their physicality on defense. Singletary, Richard Dent, Urlacher, that's their calling card for a team that still plays outdoors in the Midwest. So yes, you want to see their offense under Foles play a lot better, but when you look at their tight end position, their wide receiver position, that team is basically predicated on their defense always being able to get stops.
You are right. Offense is not the calling card of the Bears, but I'm not going to let them off the hook. This was a terrible offensive performance, and also Montgomery had 48 yards rushing. This is their fourth straight game with less than 60 yards rushing. Now, they do rely on their defense to win games, and it is hard when you're pinned underneath your 10 in seemingly every possession, but still, they need to do better getting yards on the ground. You can't have 4 straight games with less than 60 yards and expect to win football games and go deep into the playoffs, as this Bears team now wants to do with their high expectations. Now, Jalen, of course, because this is ESPN, we're going to talk about the Cowboys because they always give us something to talk about. First, it was Stephen Jones saying that he was so confident in the coaching staff that they have in place. And then it was Jerry Jones who went on the radio and got a little testy when asked about the lack of leadership in the Big D. Let's listen.
We've got to correct this. We've got to correct it. We'll change some personnel for sure. What I am confident is, and I'll really kind of have a note here in big red head letters. One of the, without a question, the reasons that Mike McCarthy is the coach is because he's been through it, and he's had tough times, and he's had disappointing times. Certainly, we couldn't have anticipated being at this stage with our team this year. But if I were going to hire a head coach, that we're going to be at this stage this year and work through this for the betterment of what's in store for us for the rest of the year and for what's for us in the future, I got my man.
He also got testy with the host of that radio show later, so he said, I've got my man. We've got our guy. Jalen, do you buy the confidence that the Jones family is giving Mike McCarthy at this point in the season?
See, here's the disconnect. Jerry Jones does have his guy. The problem is the 53 players in uniform aren't performing for your guy. That's the disconnect. If you watch this show, you knew who the Cowboys' next head coach was going to be before it was at the bottom of the ticker because I told you. And you know, Jacoby, one of my favorite people and coaches of all time is Jimmy Johnson. And he's still not in the Ring of Honor. Ever since he left, Jerry Jones has decided he's going to hire a coach as well as be the GM where if they win, he's going to be the loudest voice in the room and take all of the credit. And so Mike McCarthy does fit this motto. Jason Garrett did fit this motto. You think he's going to fire him after 6 weeks? When he didn't fire Jason Garrett, when people thought he should have fired him the last 5 or 6 years, he's not going to admit that he made a mistake. He said when he's in the locker room, he doesn't see a leadership void on the team. That's the disconnect. The players walk past the coach to talk to you because you're the face of the franchise. You're the mouth of the locker room. You talking about it's going to be personnel changes? Is that what I heard him say?
I heard that too. I heard that too.
What personnel changes are you going to make?
You don't have any salary cap space. What are you going to do, Jerry? Yeah, you're going to trade somebody? What are you going to do, Mr. Jones? Exactly. Elaborate on that, please, sir. I don't see what he's going to do.
Exactly.
And Jalen,
so he's now doubled down on a situation that already was going bad.
There's no chance that they let go of Mike McCarthy at this point in the season because we always say success is a function of realistic expectations, and expectations for the Cowboys were much higher than they're performing right now. However, when Dak goes down and Ben DiNucci is playing quarterback, the expectations go down to the floor. So Mike McCarthy can always point to Dak going down and say, that's why this season we're 6-10 or we're 4-12. And then he will get another chance at this job because Jerry Jones isn't exactly quick to pull his head coaches. Oh, no, they're not making the playoffs. They're not making the playoffs. And also, I do want to know, Jerry Jones, what personnel changes are you talking about making?
They in.
I want to follow up to that. Jerry Jones, what personnel changes do you think you are making? We will keep an eye on that moving forward. However, it was the eye of defensive coordinator Mike Nolan that was under siege during a press conference. I can't wait for you to see this tape.
Obviously, the frustration for him as well is just, look, when he misses them, nobody, whoops, excuse me, I got something in my eye. Just had some Tabasco on my finger and it went in my eye. That wasn't good. Oh, never good.
Anyone that's ever had hot sauce in their eye. I had some sriracha in my eye one time. I swear I wanted to call 911 to go to the hospital. Hot sauce in the eye is terrible, but it is a good microcosm of what's happening with this Cowboys season. There is hot sauce in the eye of the Cowboys this season. They can't even beat condiments in a game. Your thoughts, Mr. Rose?
Here's my thoughts. Okay. The game just ended, right? The game just ended. That's a post-game press conference, right?
I do not believe so. I think this is from
Or
yesterday.
is that a post-practice? Okay, so if that's a post-practice press conference, that means you went and ate before you talk to the media. First off.
Now he can't eat? Now he can't eat? My man can't eat right now? That's what we're doing? We're criticizing his eating schedule?
I didn't say that he could not eat. I'm just talking about the chain of command normally works when you finish practice. That's when you handle your media obligations, Jacoby. That's all. So he did go eat because they have a $1 billion facility. I'm pretty sure they got 15,000 chefs there. But what was in his eye was that it got dotted by every offense that he's played against and coordinated this year. That's what's been in his eye.
His eyes have seen so much destruction on the field that he's probably poured some Tabasco in there. Also, this must be said, there are many, many, many better hot sauces than Tabasco. I'm talking Frank's, Louisiana, Inner Beauty. There are many hot sauces better than Tabasco. Tabasco has too large of a share of the hot sauce market. I stand by that statement. Moving on to another radio interview. This time it was Patriots starting quarterback Cam Newton speaking with WEEI about his performance in the last couple weeks. Let's listen.
You know, for any type of competitor, do you feel embarrassed? Yeah. I don't feel offended, you know, by what was done. I don't feel, you know, offended by having this type of conversation. Like I said, I'm a realist. And the first thing I said to myself coming home, I said, you keep playing games like that, bro, and it's going to be a permanent change.
You know what, Jalen? I'm actually encouraged by this sound from him. This sounded like someone who objectively understood the position that he was in. Someone who said, if you keep playing like this, there's going to be a permanent change. I like to hear this from Cam. What do you think?
I didn't like to hear it from Cam. In particular, the last part about permanent. Because if Stidham, for example, or Hoyer gets in there and they play better than him, and all of a sudden he ends up holding the clipboard for the rest of the year when he's on a one-year contract, basically at a minimum salary, that could be the end of him starting in the NFL, going into a season for a squad. And so I like the realization of I threw 3 picks and 15 passes and I have to get better. But I'm going to also acknowledge a couple of things. One, Cam Newton just had COVID. And I know when we say somebody has coronavirus, we kind of forget the fact that over almost 300,000 people have died. But we also underestimate the fact that some people have lingering effects. Maybe that's the case here. We just don't know. But I'm going to tell you what I see. I see a quarterback that's not accurate, Jacoby. One of these days, I would love to get a tape of some of the throws that I saw. It almost was like he was throwing wounded ducks the last couple of games. And so he, to me, has taken us into the film room. He's taken us into the locker room. And he's basically saying to us what they're saying to him. That's what they're saying to him. See, Bill Belichick and Josh McDaniels didn't say it to the media, but they said it to him. Hey, Cam, just so you know, if you perform like this, you're going to lose this job. So I appreciate him breaking the ice for us so people ain't mad at Belichick if and when it happens. How about that?
Well, Cam is at a crossroads right now with his position, not just with the Patriots, but with the NFL, and they have the Bills, the Jets, and the Ravens coming up. We'll keep an eye on that. Make sure you keep an eye on us without hot sauce in it, because we have an update on the NBA schedule, Habib's fight against Gagey, and Ty Lue and the Clippers. Stay tuned. You're watching Jalen and Jacoby. Coming to you live from Pier 17 in South Street Seaport and brought to you by Chase. Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen, there's been a lot of discussion of when the next NBA season will start. Sometimes people were talking about mid-January and then perhaps February. Well, the latest is December 1st could potentially be the start of training camp and December 22nd, the start of games. Danny Green mentioned that were this the case, LeBron James might not even play the first month. Jalen, do you think the NBA will start by Christmas?
Don't be surprised if what Danny Green said is accurate. And that's simple math that I'll give everyone. Normally, an NBA cycle has the season ending in April and starting back up in October. For those squads that don't make the playoffs, that's 6 months. For the teams that make it to the championship, which is mid-June, it is 4 months. The season just ended, and December is 2 months from now. That's half of the normal allotment of time that LeBron James, for example, usually gets for his body to recover. So don't be surprised if and when the season starts around Thanksgiving that he isn't a participant. However, it ain't necessarily for the guy that's going into his 18th year that's on his 4th championship and 4th finals MVP. It's for the squads like my Detroit Pistons who haven't played basketball since March and weren't invited to the bubble. It's for those squads to finally get some currency and get back out on the floor. And the teams that lost early in the playoffs now become the marquee names. The Dame Lillards, the Boston Celtics, those be the teams that you now promote earlier in the year, while guys like LeBron James, who's a seasoned veteran, ease themselves back into the year. And we know players nowadays use load management. Teams recommend it. So there's going to be a lot of that, and don't be surprised when that takes place.
So, Jalen, one of the teams that we expected to spend a lot more time in the bubble than they did are the Los Angeles Clippers. And new head coach Ty Lue said about the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, that he expects them to stay for a long time, both of which are in the final year of their contract. What do you think about Coach Lue getting in front of this and saying they're going to be here for a long time?
I think that those two guys made sure when management asked them who should be their coach, they said Ty Lue. That's what that sounds like to me. And he's going to put together an amazing staff. I've seen some of the people that he's considering. I don't want to start naming them because he may switch some up, but I'm glad Mr. Big Shot Chauncey Billups, my brother, is going to be on that staff. Did you see what they gave up to get Paul George? Did you see what they gave up to get Paul George?
Yes.
They're not trading
first
him.
Round pick after first round pick after first round pick after first round pick and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Yeah. So you're not going to get a better player than him. He is, when he's at his best, a top 20 player. And so you're not going to trade him and Kawhi, both while Kawhi said that he wanted to play with him, both California kids, what you do is, now all of a sudden Montrezl Harrell might not be back. Now all of a sudden players like Lou Will and Patrick Beverley, they become more expendable. If you can get a guy that can do what both of those guys do at the same time.
We'll keep an eye on that this offseason. We all had our eyes on Fight Island this Saturday as Khabib Nurmagomedov finished just engaging and rode off to the sunset. And our colleague, Daniel Cormier, does a great job with our friend Ariel Helwani on his podcast. And he said that he was actually going to armbar Gaethje, but because his parents were there, he did not want to break his arm, so he went with the triangle choke instead so he could pass out and then regain his consciousness in front of his parents. What do you think about this mercy shown by Khabib Nurmagomedov?
It's athletic insanity, and in order to play these games for as long as we do, you have to have it. Ask a football player, you want to get hit in the head or get hit in the knees? They're going to be like, in the head. That's what they're going to say. Basketball player, you're going to get hacked and you're going to fall on your head, or you're going to tear your ACL. I'm going to fall on my head. And so I get this in-game chess match, but what about him being a gentleman? You know,
No.
Like, I understand that I could break your arm, but then that's going to inhibit you fighting going forward. You're going to have to rehab and get back in order. If I just knock you out, when you recover, you can now enjoy your family. The problem is you're going to be cloudy for the rest of your life.
Yeah, well, it's also like, well, thank you so much, Khabib, for not breaking my arm in front of my parents, but you did punch me in the face about 35 times right in front of them, so it's not exactly a watch right there. Coming up next, you don't want to miss this. Every week, we watch every NFL game and then break it down to one simple thought. That's next, Tuesday Takeaways. Stay tuned. You're watching Jalen Jacoby. The Big Ten is back Saturday night, 7:30 on the three-letter network ABC. It is the Ohio State Buckeyes taking on the number 18 Penn State Nittany Lions. ABC 7:30 on Saturday. Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen, you and I watch every snap of every game on Sunday and Monday, and then we break it all down into one cohesive takeaway, one thought. It's time for Tuesday Takeaways. Jalen, you are first. After watching all the games in Week 7, what is your Tuesday takeaway?
It's do or die for Cam Newton as a starting quarterback in the NFL. When you start to switch teams at that position, usually the opportunities get worse. And so what he was able to accomplish in Carolina was outstanding, winning MVP and taking them to the Super Bowl. The New England Patriots felt like they were getting a discount and taking the flyer. So they'll be quick to give up on him. I already felt like this was going to be his only season with that team. If he gets benched, that's going to not look good going into his free agent summer, and really is going to look bad for his next opportunity, especially if he's hoping to try to be the starting quarterback for a contending team. It'd be a bad team or it'd be a backup, and then you have to reinvent him being a starting quarterback. But I still feel when he's healthy and his mind is right, he has an opportunity to still be a productive player for a long time.
Absolutely, and we are rooting for him. And Jalen, my Tuesday takeaway is revolving around the quarterback position. I'm a media guy, so I make big, crazy, sweeping statements. I'm about to make this one. This could be the greatest quarterback draft class of all time. Right now, people consider 1983 draft class with John Elway, Jim Kelly, Dan Marino the greatest of all time. Watching Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, the way that they perform. Now, granted, they're not winning football games, but they look great in losses. And then that man, Tua Tagovailoa, is about to take the field. I could see a world in which those three become cornerstone franchise quarterbacks for their teams and challenge the 1983 draft class as the greatest quarterback draft class of all time. I know you love this one, and I'm so glad we're out of time, so you can't even respond. We will be back tomorrow, ESPN at 2 o'clock with a special guest. You got to give the people.